Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. This is Vivian, and the program is Catch Them Young. Catch Them Young is a program geared towards helping the younger generation learn early the things we learned late. Okay, and Proverbs 22, verse 6 tells us that you should train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So we're using this forum to teach and train and instruct and help and guide, the younger generation so that they don't make the mistakes that we did. All right. And we thank God for this platform. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that is like a pandemic. We're going to be talking about a topic that is very dear to my heart. That's because I know a couple of people who have been through this, and this is domestic violence. Domestic violence. Okay, what is domestic violence? Now, the US Department of Justice says that domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner, all right, to gain or maintain control over another. And there are different types of violence, domestic violence. One, physical, and that is evident to see, all right. There's the sexual one. There is the emotional, and that is a very insidious and subtle kind of abuse where people sometimes don't even know that it's happening to them. All right. Then there's the psychological, there is the economic, where people use, wealth, money to control, their partner. There are the threats, there's the stalking, and there's the cyber stalking. So they're very different forms of domestic violence. And I was reading the statistics from the National Domestic Violence Hotline.org, and it says that an average of 24 people per minute. Now, per minute, not per hour, not per day, not per month, but per minute, okay, are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner, and that is in the United States. So think about the numbers the world over. And then that means that more than 12 million women and men over the course of a single year have had to go through this. Those numbers are staggering, okay? And so we will talk about it, about domestic violence, what it is, what are the signs, and what to do. And for the purpose of today's meeting also, we're going to be talking about life after abuse. So the tools for survival, what you need to survive domestic abuse, especially for women. It's men and women, but especially for women as well. And today we're going to have a wonderful lady. Her name is Daune Brittlebank. I'm going to let her in the meeting now. Hi, Daune.
Hello, Vivian.
It's so nice to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me, Vivian.
Thank you so much. And so, as I was saying, Daune Brittlebank has written a wonderful book. It's a resource, it's a tool for, and hopefully people use it. Not hopefully, you have to try to get a copy, because this will help you if you are a victim or somebody else is a victim of domestic violence. Okay, and she was born in London, England, and she moved to the United States in 1989. She's very passionate about helping people who are in crisis rise above their circumstances. She has worked nearly 20 years in shelters, right? And 12 of those years, she worked as a director. So that means she has worked with this demographic and knows firsthand, what it is that they're going through or that they go through, and also how to help them, on that path of recovery. And of course, to help them bloom again. Okay, and that's the title of her book, Bloom Again, a practical guide for domestic violence survivors. Also, she lives in Orlando with her husband, Howard. They worship at Faith Assemblies of God in Orlando, and she loves spending time with her children. And I must say this, five. That's a large number. Five grandchildren. So I'm so happy to have you on. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much, Vivian.
Thank you so much. So, like you see, the statistics are staggering, right? 24.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, can you tell us, what your experience with this demographic has been?
Yeah, so domestic violence, this has been a cause dear to my heart for many years. As I've seen women in these situations who have really just struggled. We have so many, we wear so many hats, we have so much going on. And a lot of times women seem to be in a more vulnerable state, and they're vulnerable to different kinds of abuses, different kinds of, those directives against them. And so, that I've really been drawn to help women to overcome, to find themselves and find their identity, and to recognize that they are worth so much more. They're worth so much more. So dating back for many years, through my first experience working as a case manager in a domestic violence shelter, seeing the ladies come in at that time. It was a shelter that actually served only women and children. Of course, we know that domestic violence can occur in the male population as well. So it does happen. But at that time, the shelter only served women and children. And so seeing those ladies come in, seeing them, it's like, now what? I've left. What's happening now? I don't know what to do. And working with the ladies, and there's so many things that have to be attended to. And I thought this manuscript would be something that they could, have in hand to help them.
Formed your decision to write that book?
Well, it was a kind of a long drawn out story, kind of kicking and screaming. I wrote this book. Originally, it came about as a project. I was working on my master's degree and needed to do a project. And that was when I believe that God directed me in that area to do this project. Something I just wanted to help women have something to help them move forward with their lives for the domestic violence survivors.
So, and in reading, so I got the book, and in reading it, I was just, you know, I'm so grateful that you did that, because people don't have the resources at all. They go through it, and it's one thing to go through it, it's another to be able to get out of it and then still make something of your life. A lot of people have been so bashed and, destroyed by it that they don't even think, that they can ever move forward. And this is a very good practical guide. I love one thing that I read at the beginning of your book, where you said when you have a talent, a gift, and refuse to share it, okay, you could very well be a blessing blocker. Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. God impressed that on my heart. Last year, for many years, the book was in process for quite a long time. But many years ago, God had shown me that my role in life, my purpose, is to be a blessing to others, to encourage others and to be a blessing. And so, okay, that's okay, God. Yes, I understand. And yet, when I was called to do this, I struggled so much with it. And, was really just coasting along, not in total disobedience. I was moving towards it, but just very not
Oh,
taking it seriously, not taking it as my calling. And God showed me, had to reveal to me just one day, if He had called me to be a blessing, and here I was being a blessing blocker because the gifts that He had entrusted to placed in me, I wasn't using them to fulfill what He had called me to do. Oh, yeah, that
that's
was a very
a
rude
light
awakening.
moment for me, because it tells me and a lot of people that what God has given to us, is for others. And when you don't use it for others, you're really blocking another person's blessing. So that is one thing I want people
Yes,
to go with, and the young generation, like I said, this program is geared towards them learning a lot of things that
yes,
late. Okay, see how long it took you to
yes,
I'm a young person that's listening to this and saying, you know what, all of these things I see myself doing, and moving towards, or I have, liking or a talent in this area or the other. I am supposed to be using it for God. Okay, so I don't want us to. Let's go straight into the meat of the matter. All right, and one straight talks about jobs. Okay, and it's like telling people stop crying over spilled milk, start to do something. Okay, so you're talking about jobs, how to get jobs, list of jobs, and things that they can do to get themselves quickly financially stable. All right, after they
yes,
have suffered abuse or something of this sort. So if you could talk a bit more.
absolutely. Yes, it's very practical because some of the things, I, it may take years for healing to take place after abuse. May take many years for the not only obviously if they're physical scars, but emotional scars. It may take many years. But in the meantime, life has to go on. We have to live. We have to the practical things of life. We need to earn some money to be able to keep a roof over our heads. We've still got children to raise, or we need to manage our finances. So all those are very practical things, and a job, that's one of the first things we would need to take care of.
Yes. So you talk about jobs. So I'm going to put a link at the end of the video, because there are lots of resources in this book. Trust me, I think you really did your research. Okay, lots of resources, for jobs, and then it also talks about housing, and money and credits and all of those things that people who are trying to start again do not think about, building up your credit again. A lot of women and even the young ones, like I said, I want the young ones to understand. I understand that sometimes they send credit cards and all of those things to high schoolers now so that, they begin to use that. But all those things can destroy, a person's credit when you're
Yes.
making use of it without being educated, on that. So all of those things, a lot of women who have gone through this, they find that they have to start building up their credits. They have to start
Mhm.
afresh.
Absolutely.
Women that had to, take care of. Let me put it that way. I want to use that subtle that term.
Mhm. Yes.
While you were at those shelters and all those things, did you find yourself having to, make them, encourage them, to use all of these resources, or were they just did they just give up? You understand? A lot of people,
Um,
yeah.
And you find that in any population, that there are some people that are motivated enough and they'll say, okay, yes, I can do this. And they just need very little guidance to be able to move forward with their lives. And there are other people who, you know, they're so broken, they're so downtrodden, they have been pressed and into the ground, you know, and they really, it's very, very difficult for them to move forward. And everybody has to uh, find that their own place, their own pace, I should say, also,
Mhm.
and be able to move forward. I was not able to, because I only finished the book this year. This year, the book was only published this year. I finished it last year, published. So to actually take the tool, to actually take the tool, which is God's book, you know, they feel this was just something that God gave me. He used me as a tool to get this book out. But this resource is a wonderful resource for people just to be able to take a look and see, okay, and sit back and then say, well, maybe I can do this. Maybe there is that little bit of hope to say, okay, right, I can see a pathway here. Maybe I can take this. Maybe I can do this. And that is my desire, that they could see this resource and see it as a pathway to be, I call it an advancement tool.
In your experience, right, do you find that women are not willing to talk about what they've been through? You know, so do you find that a lot of women cover for their, um, the perpetrator?
Unfortunately, Vivian, there are many women who are, or I've come across women who didn't even realize that they were being abused. And that is something that's so sad when you think about that, that even in cases where there was physical abuse, they didn't see it as abuse. They, you know, I guess it was in some way got cloaked as that's his expression of love for you, and that's those kinds of things. And
Yeah.
so I have definitely seen people sometimes unwilling to one, don't even recognize that it's happening. Two, the shame, the guilt, those kinds of responses, those emotions, which are very real, it makes it very difficult for a person to even talk about it. And sometimes you are in such an isolated environment
Yes.
that there's nobody. Who are you going to talk to?
That's the thing.
Yeah, so that can be very, very real.
So
And
you,
some,
okay.
go ahead.
I said, so you would advise for people to talk, right? Because I'm
Abs-
reading here one of the stats that most female victims of intimate partner violence were previously victimized by the same offender, at rates of 77% for women ages 18 to 24, 76% for ages 25 to 34, and 81% for ages 35 to 39. So the older they are, I mean that was even shocking to me, that even as the older you get, you still are, and I'm not sure why, is it a force of habit or what it is that you still go back to that same perpetrator and be victimized a second time or more, by,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Statistics show that on average, a woman may return 7 times before she actually leaves for good. So it's not uncommon at all for somebody to leave and then return, leave again and then return. So it can be, it's a very difficult situation to actually ultimately get out of for some people. So, not uncommon at all.
And some people don't get out of it, as in they don't get out of it alive.
That's very true.
So
That's very true.
that's the sad thing, because I don't know that it's worth it. I don't know that it's worth it to save a marriage if you are physically, especially abused.
Yes.
You understand? Yes. I mean,
Abs-
not necessarily even marriage, a relationship. Okay.
yes.
Yeah. So, and so what are the signs? What are the things that young ladies, you have granddaughters, right?
I have one granddaughter, but she's very small. My grandkids are all very young. They're all the oldest will be 8 next week.
And young is for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're 2, 12, 20, 40, 80. It's for everybody.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yes.
just exposing to people certain things that you probably had not. And I don't think that everybody needs to go through certain experiences. Some people go through the experiences for you so that you learn from them.
Yes. Yes.
Out there, you know. Did you hear me?
I didn't. I'm so sorry. I'm breaking up a little bit.
I said, if it's out there, all of this information, people learn. Okay. They don't have
Yes.
to go through the experiences themselves. So
That's right.
what would you tell
That's right.
your daughter, growing up, let's say you were 12, or what would you tell her regarding this, as in what signs to look out for?
Yes, absolutely. So I once again just recognizing that, if we don't learn at a very young age our value, that we are precious, we are all created in the image of God, we are valuable. So we we can't settle for being mistreated. We can't settle for being abused. So if people, some of the clear signs, if people disrespect you, if people are calling you names, if people are hitting you, putting their hands on you in any way, sometimes it may be subtle things like this person always wants to know where you are at all times. Things constantly, berating you or mocking you in front of other people, trying to if they're jealous of you, it's telling you things like, the way you looked at this person, that they see something in that, you must be cheating on me with the pizza boy, or something, just
Yeah.
yes, and always they're looking for things to find fault about with you about. Or they're extremely jealous. They fly off the handle at some, seemingly some very small things. You feel that you're always having to walk on eggshells when you're around them. Um, if they how they treat their family members, especially their female family members. How does this partner interact with their mother? Does their mother seem to be on edge around this person, scared of this person? Sisters, siblings, do they seem to be scared of this person, or like they've got to kind of pacify them, keep them happy all the time?
Mm.
So some of those things are just things to really kind of think about. If that person maybe insists on seeing your phone messages, looking through your phone.
What's your password?
Yes, those kinds of things. Be careful because it's about power and control. And when we see those behavior patterns exhibited, those are big red flags.
They are. And yes, and people should, look out for them, because it doesn't just affect the parent. I mean, it doesn't just affect the person, like in a situation where there are children involved, both. So the victim and their child or children
Absolutely.
from that. So in people, the people that you met in the shelters, especially the women and children, where cases like that happened, were there resources for the children also to help them, deal?
Absolutely. And, one of the particular shelters actually had to start a children's program where they had, activities that they could do, things that they could, in ways in which they could express themselves. But it's very important for the not only the survivor to get counseling, but the children too, because the children can internalize a lot of things. And, if they're never able to express those things and talk about them, get them out, it can do a lot of damage to the child going forward. A child that is constantly, witnessing abuse, maybe hearing it, they live in that that heightened state of fear. And that can just lead to all kinds of other issues for the child going forward.
So sometimes they do need therapy to
Yes,
navigate.
absolutely.
So in terms of spirituality, you know, what are what should women do? And I'm talking more women. It's across board, of course, men and women. But what should, let me just say that, yeah, what
Yes,
the used do in terms of getting closer to God? Because I believe that you can't do anything without God. And so we
yes,
all other resources, we can, talk with them, because sometimes people don't even have people to talk to, and
yes,
as Christians, it is, I think it behooves us to seek these people out and actively help them, actively seek them out, and be intentional about helping them, because most of them will not reach out. Okay.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And Christianity, having a sister or brother who you can trust is very key at this time. What do you think?
Very much so. And definitely, as a person of faith, I don't know how some people can get through the things that they, the crises in their lives without the relationship with God. And, for, and as you mentioned, it's very important for us to be able to uh, help support these people in their walk, in their journey, because uh, it's that strength that they gain from that relationship. The faith walk is the core of the recovery. And it's only Jesus that brings the healing ultimately for anybody to be able to recover from any kind of trauma. So it's only Jesus that's able to do that, the Holy Spirit. But as women, or anybody who has gone through or has an experience in these areas, to be able to reach out a hand to somebody else on their journey so that they know, okay, yes, I can do this. And with God's help, to strengthen, is cement this. So I feel that just growing in spirituality, if you're not a person of faith, to be able to come to know Jesus,
Yes.
and as a person of faith, even just to be able to grow in the faith, what kinds of things feed your faith? There are so many different podcasts, different things that, people can listen to, maybe just turning on the radio to a Christian radio station and hearing the Christian music, uplifting, putting positive things, scriptures,
Yeah.
maybe around your mirror in the bathroom, those kinds of things can grow your faith, help you spiritually, help that, that bolster that area of your life, which is so important.
So what do you say to, women, in the church, women of God? What are the things to do when you notice, so first, what are the signs and what are the things to do when you notice somebody is going through that?
Yes.
What are the steps quickly that you take to help you?
Yes. So if perhaps somebody comes to you and says that this is going on, this is something that's been happening, I would encourage one of the first things, believe them, believe them. And I think that especially in cases where it may be a family member or something, sometimes it's people say, "Oh, no, that can't be. That's not him. No, he's not that kind of
Oh,
person.
nice.
No, and they want to then doubt the survivor, and in some kind of disbelief, and that is something that absolutely you want to make sure, first of all, that you are believing that person knows that what they're saying to you, that that you are embracing them and not rejecting them based on what they're saying. I would say if you're in a relationship with them, to pray, prayer changes anything. And if they're in that situation, be willing to pray with them, to to stand with them, and putting God first above everything else, to say, Lord, you are in control of this situation. Please, give us guidance, give us direction.
Mm.
And so we're going to believe what they say. We're going to pray together and offer the resources that, there are some explained in the book also. But, there's certain resources, maybe like the National Domestic Violence Hotline. So it's a hotline where somebody can call, they can, just, it's non-judgmental. They're just saying, they want you to be able to call, to get resources if that's needed, help you with a safety plan, those kinds of things. And they're the experts in the field. So that's, for a friend to be able to support somebody else, being able to offer resources, being there for them, and letting them know that, that they're okay, that when I say they're okay, that they're okay in revealing what they've revealed, that it's a safe place that they've come to you.
Okay. So
Yeah.
also do with somebody who keeps going back. So you're ready to help. Okay.
Yes.
And you've done taking all the steps you just talked about.
Yes.
Then they keep, like we saw the statistics, 76% are battered or abused again by the previous, the same, sorry, perpetrator.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they keep, because the tendency is to be upset. So why do you keep, don't you have any sense why do you keep going back to that? What makes them even go back?
There
And
are a number of reasons. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
makes them go back, and how do you not be upset that they're not listening to your to you and taking your help?
Yes. And that can be a very hard place to be, because you feel that you pour into this person, you've given them all the advice, all the resources, you've done all that you know to do, and they've left, and and you think, yes, wonderful. And, then next thing is they've gone back. And it can be you can feel very deflated after that, thinking that, even sometimes internalizing that, thinking, did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? And then, of course, saying to looking at the survivor in a certain way that, as you said, have you lost your mind? What on earth why are you going back to him? So one of the things that's also key, we can, as the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can offer the resources, you can, and, be as supportive as you can. But ultimately, the decision is going to be that woman's decision or that survivor's decision.
Yeah.
Reasons why, and it can be very complicated, but there's some very, solid reasons why people do go back. One of them, they love the person. They love the person. They don't love the abuse, but they love the person. And in the cycle of domestic violence, there's an active, phase where they are being hurt,
Mhm.
be hurt, and then there's a honeymoon phase. There's a phase when the perpetrator is sorry, they didn't mean it, they want it'll never happen again. Please forgive me, uh, you know. And so then they're bringing flowers, they're bringing chocolates, they're so kind, take you on vacations, and so there are seasons when there there is no abuse, and so a person may be drawn to that. They're remembering those good times. They're remembering those times when you know
Right.
things were normal. So it could be that they love the person. It could be that they're afraid for their own lives. Because a woman is more likely to um, to lose her life. Uh, it can be more likely to lose her life when she actually leaves, or saying that she's leaving the relationship.
Mhm.
So that can be a deterrent, a threat by the perpetrator that they're going to take your children, or you'll never see your children again. They'll hurt your family members. They'll hurt your pets, those kinds of things. It may be a person is financially insecure. They have no resources. They have no job. They have no money.
Tolerate the abuse. Yeah.
The abuser has withheld finances from them. They have nowhere to go, and so that may also make it very difficult for them to to leave, or to even go back, or might make it difficult when they're thinking about leaving. And some of the things when they decide to go back, no resources, no assistance,
Mhm.
maybe, and they return. So
And we're talking mostly about physical abuse because, other kinds of abuse, I know it's not right, but I don't know that it should break a marriage. I know that some things can be worked on. Okay, if it's emotional abuse and all of those things, economic, there are things, there are resources that the couple can go and have that resource where I mean, or therapy, or talk to a pastor, they're doing counseling, all of those things. But when it comes to physical abuse,
yes,
honestly, for me, that is a deal breaker.
deal breaker.
you know
Yes, there are, as you mentioned, there are different kinds of abuse. I will never forget one of the worst kinds that I heard about in my experience was emotional abuse. And to where the husband would not let her take a shower, would not let her go to the bathroom without permission. And when she was wanted to go to the bathroom, she had to go to him to ask about going to the bathroom. And sometimes he would just make her urinate on herself and not allow her to go to the restroom. And
For me.
and not to take a shower unless he told her she could take a shower. You know, he would come home. She had to smell a certain way, otherwise she would be in trouble because she hadn't followed his instructions. So when you think about living a life like that, oh my goodness, that's just
That's not life. That's not living.
not at all, not at all. Absolutely.
Yes. So again, like she has said, and please purchase the book. You have all of those resources there, and then there's the domestic violence hotline as well as the National Center for Victims of Crime line as well as a website too where you can go report abuse. I believe that people should speak as soon as it happens. When the younger generation are taught, a lot of people, and from where I come from, a lot of people, have suffered that and in silence,
Yes.
in silence because there's that thing about being um, submissive. I like I was talking to you recently, being submissive and being subservient. You
Mhm.
and sometimes, you read the Bible upside down.
Mm.
Your husband is hitting you and almost kills you, and you don't think it is time, to seek help. I believe there's a problem. Even if it's not for yourself, for your children.
Yes.
They see that and children learn. Okay, some, it's not everyone who does that, but some would learn, okay, that's what not to do, but some would just, as it would be second nature to them because that's what they saw, growing
Yeah.
up. Can't tolerate it. I watched a number of things, and recently thing happened that hurt me, and I didn't even really know the lady, but I mean, it took a lot. I still haven't recovered from it, so you can imagine what her family and all of that feel like. But she lost her life, because of that.
Yes.
So as we're gonna, later on also talk about those who do the, people who victimize. Why they do that, what's happening, that makes them get into that. Sometimes you find that it is what they saw as children too.
Yes.
No,
Yes. Learned behavior.
sorry because somebody's like this one, her life was taken, but there's also that aspect that we need to look at because everybody, God did not come for a few, He came,
That's right.
Jesus came for all of us. So it doesn't matter how bad whatever it is we're doing is, Jesus came to save all of us.
Oh, absolutely.
So
That's absolutely true.
some resources for people who are also the abusers, as well, So I'm
Yeah.
God will help us. That's if they admit that they're abusers. you know,
Sorry, I couldn't hear. I missed that last part.
I said that's if they admit that they are abusers.
Yes, and that sometimes very difficult because some very narcissistic behavior. They don't feel in any way that they have any responsibility, and some of them, in terms of emotional abuse, make you think that you are crazy, that you are making it all up, and they will tell the people that you are somehow, making this up or crazy or you know what she's like, and yeah, so can be very, very manipulative and yeah, um, very hard to get some to admit that they are actually doing something
So
that's wrong. Yeah, criminal.
Well, we're going to end this. I'm so glad that you came on.
Thank
What would you say to a person who had the courage to leave an abusive relationship?
I applaud you. I applaud every survivor who has taken the courage. It takes so much to leave. As I said, there's so many dynamics as to why people don't leave. So for somebody to finally get that enough courage to say enough, enough. Sometimes they make that decision based on their kids. Sometimes the abuser may turn on their kids, and sometimes that's enough for a person to say no more, no more. So I would just say, keep the faith, keep walking with God, and walk with purpose. You can do that. You've done it. And to those who are on the verge of leaving an abusive relationship, you can do this. You can, you know, just just trust God, hold on, and take the first steps. Take the first steps. When you feel that the time is right for you, take that first step and keep going. Keep going. And there are people, you're not alone. There are people out there who care about you, who love you, and want to help and want to walk the journey with you. So
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have had this conversation with you. And I pray that it blesses a lot of people and they get something, out of it. I tell you that every person, either knows somebody who's being abused or was abused, or they themselves have been a victim of such.
yes, yes.
God help us all. God help us all. All the
Amen.
resources at the end of this video. And please, again, like I said, I was reading through all of them. I'm like, my God, you really did your research. There's so many resources at the end of the book. Each of the chapters for each of the topics when it comes to jobs, when it comes to housing, when it comes to your credit, all of that spirituality, every chapter there are resources there. So it's not just talking to you about it, okay, about the problem, but it is offering a solution for it. All right. So I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for coming. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you so much for caring enough about this topic to present this to your viewers, because it's such an important topic, and especially to the younger generation, so that they can see the signs, they can know what to avoid as best as they can, and that there are resources out there for them. So
Thank you
thank you for all that you do.
so much. Thank you. And God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you.
See you soon. All right. Thank you for listening. And I'm hoping that people will use the resources that, are being offered to you. God will help us not to go through that. And for the young ones before marriage, I beg of you, look for those signs, look to know when a person is upset. Look to see how they react when they're upset. Look to see how they react when they don't have money. Look to see how they react when they are in an awkward position. Look to see different reactions. You understand? People jump into it. Some people have been fortunate. They jump into it 1 month and, they've known each other for just 1 month, and then they jump into marriage and they are there 50 years and counting. But some people, it's I don't know, they see those signs and then they still keep quiet and then they jump in. Don't jump in. Don't jump in. If you want to get married, don't jump into a relationship that will, or don't stay in a relationship that would, compromise yourself and your life, especially physical violence. So use the resources that are provided, and God will help us. We're going to be talking, a bit more about how it affects children. So I have a friend who will be talking with us about it, and that will be coming up very soon. Take care and God bless. Remember who you are in Christ. Remember that nobody can tell you or can dictate to you who you are in Christ. You should know for yourself. Jesus loves you. Amen.